one of the skills you learn as a lawyer is how to wait. After speaking with the mayor, and when I decided I wanted to do this, I had to go speak with my partners about it, which I'm sure the council president can appreciate. And several of them said, why? And, you know, built into that were their own personal prejudices, also their own economic wishes and desires. But it was a legitimate question. I had to sit down and I had to think about it. First, and maybe most obviously, especially if you know me, you've read my resume, I place a strong value in public service. I've never said no. I've always been willing to step up and sit on a board or do something that was public spirited. I think it's important. I think especially if you're educated, if you've achieved some level of success, it's your obligation to give something back to your community and to provide service and to use your skills not only for yourself but for the greater good. Second, I love this city. It's not my hometown. I didn't grow up here, but it's where I've made my life. It's where my wife and I live. We don't want to go anywhere. We want to stay here. If we have children, we want to raise them here. We want them to be city kids the way we were both city kids in Massachusetts. And to make that viable, we need to continue to improve the public schools in this city. But probably most fundamentally is my own experience with education. Somewhat like Mr. Poland, but maybe a little bit further down the line, I'm the second person in my family to go to college. My mother, who's a school teacher, was the first. My father went to vocational high school and barely slid through, and as he so eloquently puts it, learned to wire pretty good, nothing else. And for me, the education I was able to get, it changed my life. It opened up economic opportunities that I never would have otherwise had, allowed me to go places and do things that I couldn't have done or couldn't have gone. And when I think about my classmates growing up, I went to Catholic school. Some of them did real well, some of them didn't do very well, and in most cases, it wasn't because my parents loved me more than their parents did, or my family had more money than theirs. It was because at the end of the day, I was very fortunate to have parents, especially my father, frankly, who put a high premium on education and who insisted that I study hard and that I work hard. And I can remember my father telling me when I was 4 or 5 years old, you're going to college, you're going to college, you're going to college. You're not going to end up like me. I have a good job, but I can never leave it because no one's ever going to hire me. You have to go to college, you have to study, you have to do the work. And because of that, I was able to get an education, I was able to do things. And, you know, when I think about my mother's own experiences as a public school teacher in Massachusetts, I grew up in New Bedford. It's a very working class town. She taught in an area that was one of the poorer parts of a very working class town. And, you know, to see children that I knew when I was, you know, their age or a little older, some of whom made it because of, I think, my mother's help, and they're now teachers, some of them doctors, one of them an investment banker, but also to see kids that didn't make it and ended up in jail or in prison or dead or just scraping by. It's that access to education and the ability to take advantage of that and to make use of that resource that allows people to rise up, to improve their conditions. And if I can do something that helps more people in this city get the same kind of educational opportunity that I had, then I will have done something worthwhile. And that's why I want to do this.
I want to get your take on the Corporation Council's opinion regarding your potential conflict of interest in this matter. That was the first time I'd actually had a chance to look at that, so I guess I'm not quite clear on where this could come into play. I know the Board of Ed votes on a lot of construction documents and a lot of construction projects that are going on in the city currently.
There will be things on which I will have to recuse myself. I think any lawyer will tell you that if you're going to be a lawyer, life is full of conflicts and you have to learn how to navigate them. I've been a partner in a law firm, so an owner, for over 10 years. I've served on half a dozen boards in this city in that time. I've served with actually Councilman Aponte and Councilman Kennedy, and I think they can tell you there have been occasions when I've recused myself, and properly so. My philosophy is to err on the side of caution. If you think you might have to recuse yourself, you probably should recuse yourself. Ultimately, one of the reasons why I resigned a year before my term was up on the MDC was we were starting to have so many conflicts between things the MDC was doing and things my clients were doing that it was wrong to the public to have me in a position where I was recusing myself 25 or 30% of the time. And I mean, I would not allow that to happen. Similarly here, you know, if I find that the conflicts are too much, you go to the mayor and you say, Mr. Mayor, you know, the people deserve somebody who's 95 or 100% of a board member, not 70% of a board member. But, you know, you work through it just like you would in private practice, and you know, you meet your responsibilities to your clients, your partners, but also, in this case, to the board and to the people, you know, who make up the board.
Councilman McDonald, if I may ask a question from the public,
Absolutely.
and I think it will help elucidate this issue for everyone kind of watching. The question is, has your law firm received any business within the last 2 years from the city of Hartford?
Yes.
And is any of that pertaining to Board of Education matters? If so, how much? So
We have done work for the city of Hartford at least since I've been a partner, which is 2001. It's been a variety of matters. Typically, my guess is the dollar value of that on an annual basis probably ranges between $15,000 to maybe $55,000 or $60,000, probably $25,000 annually, something like that. That would be about the average. We do some work for the school building committee in regards to the preparation of architectural contracts for jobs, for schools that have already been approved for construction. As I mentioned to you in the hallway when I ran into you, we apparently have an open engagement. I don't know how much work has been performed, if any, to provide some immigration counsel to the Board of Education. That would actually be provided out of either Morristown or Boston, because that's where the people who do that work for us sit. So I have really no, it's something that I just found out about today and I need to learn more about. Those are the only two things that we do that even remotely intersect with the board. We do some work for the Treasurer's Office with respect to some private equity deals. We've represented the city in different commercial litigation over the years. Some stuff for redevelopment and things like that. But very little of it, except the things I've just discussed, really touch upon things that are at all germane to the Board of Education.
Thank you. And do you believe that Hartford can close the achievement gap with the rest of the state?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The thing, I think my interest in the Hartford schools stems back to, and I don't remember who the superintendent was, so I'm not going to guess. There was a quote to the effect in the newspaper, a very low percentage of kids from Weaver were going to college, and the superintendent had been quoted something to the effect of, well, you know, actually we did pretty good, you know. Well, no, you didn't do very good. And, you know, the sort of the defense is, well, what do you expect from these kids? And at the end of the day, the poverty, the social dysfunction, the lack of a stable two-family home, those are explanations as to why things are wrong, and they are the reason why we have to work harder to make it right. They are not an excuse for failure. They are the reason why we have to work harder. And with hard work, you can do a lot. Going to Catholic school, I had to take Latin, and I had to memorize many Latin phrases, most of which I don't remember in Latin, but some of them in English. And one of them was, a great man can come from a cabin. You know, you don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to come from a wealthy family to become an educated and successful person, but you got to be willing to put in the work. And it is wrong to think that because kids don't come from a good environment, they can't learn, and that they can't learn as well as kids who do come from a good environment. They can. They're going to have to work harder, and the adults who work with them are going to have to work harder. But, you know, if you sign up to be a teacher in a city like Hartford, you know what you're in for. It's tough and it's a challenge, and you're doing a good thing, but you're going to work for it. So yes, we can close the achievement gap if we're willing to work it.
Thank you.